Boker Tov. So, another day of interesting talks from Beersheba. So pleased to be here. My name is Ian Benjamin. I'm about to be the interim CEO of Americans for Ben-Gurion University. Very excited to be taking on that role from Doug Sessamon, who has served us for the last 8 years so fabulously. Thank you, Doug. So I have to make sure that I cover everything that they told me I have to say. But I think I can probably manage to do that. So Sunday evening, some of you joined us, but not all, and heard from Sasha Troufanov, and heard about his ordeal in Gaza. We're also joined by his fiancée, Sapir Cohen, who was also a hostage in Gaza for some 55 days, I get that right? So we won't hear from her this morning, but I know that Sasha will talk about her ordeal as well. So we're really pleased to have you both here. When we finish the introduction this morning, we have the opportunity to hear from a group of professors and some students who will take us into a much deeper dive on the university and the university's activities. I think Lenore will help us with all the details of who will be where, and everybody will have the opportunity to go to 2 separate sessions, and I am looking forward to those myself. But now, with no further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Danny. I should really call him Professor Daniel Chamovitz. All right. But to all of us, he's Danny. Yeah. Sasha, come on up.
Come on up, Sasha. Yeah. Boker Tov, Sasha. Boker Tov, everyone.
Boker Tov.
I think if you'll find throughout this talk and later in the day that Sasha is the type of young man, graduate of Ben-Gurion University, that all of us would want to have as a son, a grandson, or a son-in-law, or a grandson-in-law, really epitomizing all of the values we're going to talk about. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. So Sasha, we've done this before, and I'm sure you've done it probably tens of times. But I want to start with a different question before we get to being a hostage, before we get to October 7th. Age 3.5, you arrive at Kibbutz Nir Oz with your mother, father, grandmother.
My grandmother came after, but yeah, eventually.
What was or is Nir Oz for you growing up there? Describe, because most of us don't understand what was Kibbutz Nir Oz.
So I think that some of you at least visited the kibbutz. Unfortunately, after October 7, maybe some of you had the luck to visit it before. It was and still is a very beautiful place. A lot of trees, very green, open, small houses hiding behind those trees, and small roads leading to them. It was very peaceful, a nice place to be at. I remember that for me, even when I was studying, and even after that, it was like an escape from all these things that I was doing during the week. I would come at the weekend to the kibbutz just to relax. Sapir would have loved coming to the kibbutz. For her, it was like also a place of tranquility. And unfortunately now it represents, in a sense, what happened in October 7, the destruction and the massacre that went through that day. But for me, I will always try to remember that as the place it was before, the peaceful, nice place of people that know each other like a big and warm family, somebody is passing on the street asking you a question randomly, like, what are you doing now? It's not even your grandfather, your grandmother, but they're still interested and they keeping up with the information. It's amazing. They do remember. So I felt like I have a big family there. So
Even though you were not part of the original founding community, like there were the original people like Gadi Moses and other people, and you were, as new immigrants, they accepted you as part of the entire community.
yeah, it was like a big family. They accepted us immediately. They was treating me and my family as well as anybody else. Amazing community.
So you grow up there, the school system, army. Why did you choose to come to Ben-Gurion University to study electrical engineering?
So when I was a child, I always dreamed of doing something regarding like engineering. I always felt that this is my strong point. And I didn't actually know much about universities. Growing up in the kibbutz, the downside is that you're not really connected with all these things that is going on in Israel. It's like a small place in the south. You live your own life. And when I started to question where is the best place to learn, I didn't have anybody to ask. Like, nobody's an engineer in my kibbutz. So everybody works in agriculture, in the garage, and different places in the kibbutz itself. So I needed to figure out myself. I started searching, asking, I don't know, friends from the army and everything, and I got to the conclusion that there are, I don't know, 3 main institutes in general in Israel, right? There is Ben-Gurion, Tel Aviv University, and the Technion in Haifa. But for me, Ben-Gurion was always the best choice. First of all, electrical engineering, I think it's one of the best schools in the country, if not the best one. And second, the South is my home. And Ben-Gurion in Beersheba, which is the city of the South, it's like the capital of the South, this is how they call it in Israel, is the beating heart of this place. And when I needed to choose, I told myself, this is the place I'm gonna be.
Yeah. So actually, unfortunately, we don't really have time to get into electrical engineering, but I would actually, it's not the sexiest of things. You would think so, probably yes. But, it's not always on the agenda for BGU or the Board of Governors because it's a little more difficult to understand. But I think maybe next year we should have a session on electrical engineering because it really is an incredible school at Ben-Gurion University. Anyway, fast forward, 4 years of electrical engineering. I know what you went through. It's the hardest course of study. There are classes that 70% fail. I don't know if that says something about more about the professors than about the students. But you graduate, you get a job of Amazon, and you work for a year in Amazon in the center of the country. You're building your career as, what do you do? What do you do as an electrical engineer?
It's a very sexy position. It's called physical design engineer in Amazon. It's a certain stage in making chips, the hardware that goes inside the AWS servers. A very interesting field. If you want, I can give a lecture on that as well.
Next year we'll bring you back for that one. So you finish your first year of studies, you graduate from Ben-Gurion University, the Chagim, the holidays arrive. Of course, you come back to your family for Simchat Torah. What did you do Erev Simchat Torah?
Well, first of all, I need to be honest. It's Sapir's blame that we got to there. No, I'm joking. It's not her blame, but it was her choice. We needed to choose where to go to, and on the first holiday, we were at her family. I told her I don't want to go to the kibbutz this weekend, but she convinced me to go, and I accepted, and we went. It was like a normal Friday, meeting my family, meeting my friends. And unfortunately, on Saturday, everything started with
629.
Yes, weeks 29. There is the Tolerance Museum, so there is an exhibit that a little bit gives you a sensation about this hour and October 7 in general. But I remember that for me, it was like unimaginable because at first it started with alarms and bombings, and for me it wasn't unusual. But when it kept going and going, it never stopped. I understand that something is wrong. We hide, me and Sapir, in the corner of the room we were staying at. It was a very small room, and
It's a guest house. It's not an apartment, right?
yeah, it's a guest room, and it's like you pay for, you get what you pay for. Like it's really a room. Um, so there was no safe room in there, and we found a shelter in the corner, um, made the bed closer to us so it suffices another safety, and just waited out. And during this time, I started to receive text messages from my friends. Some of them are not from the kibbutz, some of them are from the kibbutz. I have one friend is in the quick reaction force of the kibbutz. Um, so he texted me and he knew what is going on, although he wasn't in the kibbutz itself. He texted me, there are terrorists in a kibbutz nearby, Kibbutz Be'eri. And I said to myself, how unlucky Be'eri is. We are only experiencing the explosion. But then he told me there are terrorists in the kibbutz in Iroz as well. And I didn't want to show it to Sapir, but she knew something is wrong. She saw my face, my reaction, and asked me what is going on, what is going on. And I told her eventually, there are terrorists, but probably, don't worry, we'll be wiped out by the army forces or the quick reaction force of the kibbutz. We didn't know what is happening. I don't know, I didn't even thought about opening the news applications or something to understand. And then we started.
Wouldn't have helped you anyway.
Yeah, but I
We
understand.
didn't understand, and we were watching that.
Yeah, so maybe it's good that I didn't do that, because at least I managed to, in a sense, keep some calmness. And then we started hearing shootings, and they came closer and closer, and we started hearing voices. And my mother texted me. We were texting with each other. She told me to come to her house. I told her we can't. There is no time to do that. And eventually she texted me like, there are terrorists that just crossed in front of our porch. And I understood that the terrorists are very close to the area we are staying at. Very fast after it happened, we started hearing them trying to break the door open. They didn't manage to do that at first. And then after they left, I thought to myself like, wow, I felt so much fear of them trying to break the door. And when they didn't manage to do it, at first I felt like a little bit of relief. But then after a minute or two, they came back, shut the lock, got inside. At first it was only one tourist getting inside. He saw us, I don't know, immediately. Pointing the gun at me, I stood up with my hands up, trying to explain to him in English that we are civilians, leave us alone, we are civilians. He didn't really, maybe he didn't understand, and it was a very stressful situation, so he just kept shouting things in Arabic at me. I understood that he's wanting me to get down on my knees. I tried to convince him to give Sapir clothes because she wasn't wearing much. She was wearing a small pajama, and he decided to throw pants that was near him that belonged to me. And told me to wear this, and then I told him, but I need her clothes for her. At that point, there already entered a group of terrorists, other terrorists that was waiting outside, maybe around 8 terrorists or 10, I don't know. I didn't count, but there was a lot of them. And one of them decided it's taking too long, so he just came, approached me, and punched me straight to the face when I'm with my hands up, so I couldn't even protect myself. At that point, I understood that I better stand up and get moving because it's not going to a good direction. I was taken out first. At the door, was stabbed on the shoulder by one of the terrorists from the back, and the other terrorist needed to stop him from stabbing me even more times. I was taken to the side. They put me on my knees, and I saw Sapir getting out of this room, being led by those terrorists. And separated from them actually, and another group took her. And I think this is why we ended up in different groups. She was held by Hamas, and I was held by Islamic Jihad.
Let me just stop you 1 second. 'Cause it's just so, I don't know if you can feel the attention in the room. You say terrorists, and Shira, my wife and I, we were in near Oz a month ago. We heard the stories of what was going on. This first wave, this was the first wave of terrorists? These were actual nukhbot, what we call? Were these in uniforms? Were these civilians? Or there's no difference between them?
In my case, it was a mixture. I think that we were abducted at around 8:30, 9 a.m. So there were already civilians in the area. I think that it was a mixture because the one who stabbed me in my shoulder did it with a kitchen knife, and he didn't have any uniform. He was like just wearing normal clothes. Didn't have any weapon as well, because if he wanted, he could have shot me in the head. But the one, for example, who got inside first was wearing uniform.
So you mentioned 2 nights ago that you were trying to get their attention away from Sapir.
Yeah, it wasn't the best idea, but when you're in a panic situation and you're fighting for your life in a sense, and the last thing you want to do is go to Gaza and become an hostage, you are trying to figure out a way, or to imagine there is a way to avoid it. And for that reason, I decided that it's the best way is to try and run to the opposite direction from where Sapir was taken to. I thought that maybe they would run after me, which actually happened, but there were much more terrorists than I thought at the beginning there are. And immediately when I started running, I saw a lot of terrorists around the area that I was at. They encountered me while I was running. Some of them threw things at me. I threw them back at them. Some of them started shouting towards me. And eventually, after 100 meters or so, I was stopped by 2 armed terrorists with guns in front of me. I was cornered, and the group that I shook myself from them, they was running after me, shooting me, but they didn't hit me yet. They approached me while I was with my hands up and shoot me in both of my legs from, I don't know, a distance that we are sitting. And somehow, in the right leg, the bullet only pierced my muscle, so it went clean through, but without hitting the bone. But on the left leg, it pierced the bone and broke it completely. I was standing, so I fell to the ground. The leg bent a little bit, and I was hit by a rifle in the back of my head. And then they tied my hands behind my back and told me, like, get up with the hands gesture. I really tried because I understood that this is a life or death situation in a sense. If I, for example, would have been shot in both of my legs and both of them would have been broken, I will probably be dead. Nobody will take me in this condition. Eventually, I couldn't stand. The pain was enormous and the leg wasn't strong enough after being shot, so they needed to take me and put me on a bike, and they covered my face while going through the kibbutz on that bike. Unfortunately, I could see through that cover, and I saw my kibbutz, this peaceful, lovely place, being burned down, destroyed. Terrorists are swarming around. No civilians, no people from the kibbutz, only terrorists with guns, with no guns. So excited about being there. And when we exited from the fence.
From the back exit near the winery?
Yeah, but you've been there. Not many people have been there. So yeah, but you're right. From the back exit, I remember that the tourist started talking to me in English, telling me, Johnny, it's okay. Johnny, relax. Johnny, it's okay. You're safe. And I'm in my mind. There is like, I don't care what he says. I'm thinking to myself, I'm already in such a pain. Maybe it's better to just be killed right now. In my mind, I said, I'm in such a bad shape. They will get me to Gaza, make a video of me alive, and then will kill me. It's not worth their effort to keep me alive. And also, I thought that somehow he connected to Sapir because he's the one who got inside the room. And I tried to, I don't know, make a trade. I told him, take me, I don't care, leave Sapir. It didn't help.
All right, so 9 a.m., you're in Gaza, wounded in both legs. You don't know what's happened to Sapir. You don't know what's happened to your parents, or do you at this point?
I had my suspicions because I was shot in both of my legs in front of their house. And just before I was shot, I saw terrorists destroying their porch. And I knew that they eventually would get inside. The doors in the kibbutz are very it's not designed to withstand any burglary or something. It's it's a privacy door just so people will not see what is going on inside the house. So this is what happened. They eventually got inside, took my mother and my father, separated between them. They wanted the car that my father had from his work, took him, and my mother never saw him again, and he was killed on October 7th. They found him in the fields.
So, but this the details you got 498 days later. So you're in Gaza, being held by Islamic Jihad. Sapir's being taken, held by Hamas. And Sapir was released in the first groups of people 55 days later. Were you being held, sorry Sapir, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Were you being held together with Nili Margalit? No, you weren't in that group. Because many of us have heard Nili's story a few months ago. Your mother's released, your grandmother's released, and you're being held by yourself, no one else around with you, for 498 days, sometimes above ground, sometimes underground. Did you know that Sapir was released?
Yeah, I knew because they were listening to the radio at that point, trying to understand what is going on with the ceasefire that was always prolonged day after day after day. And they also had a feeling of, this is it. The war is probably will end very soon. They were very happy in this week, or I don't remember, 8 days of ceasefire, I think. And when the war continued, I wasn't surprised, but they were a little bit surprised. And they thought that it will end in a month's time, maybe 2 months. It didn't, but I also wanted to believe that. And the fact that I heard that Sapir, my mother and my grandmother were released, gave me so much comfort, gave me a lot of strength to keep moving forward. And every time that I needed to go through a struggle, at least at the first part of after the first deal, I remember reflecting on the fact that they are home. I prayed so much for that to happen, and that now I have nothing to complain about. I just need to be grateful that this happened, and I need to try and believe that it will happen to me as well one day.
Did you, again, being held alone, Islamic Jihad, not a rich organization. I say that not, there's hierarchies in Gaza and how people were held. Did you have any idea about the huge outpouring in Israel of people supporting, calling for your release, calling for the government to make a deal, calling for the world to do something?
The opposite. Most of the news that I heard was from the terrorists themselves, and the information that was delivered to me usually is that nobody cares about us, the hostages and me in person, that people forgot about us, that the government don't want to get us released, and a lot of many negative information about this. I saw on TV, I had access for television for a certain period of time, for around a month and a half, in the middle, between March and May 2024. I remember seeing the demonstrations. I didn't saw much of the things that going in the Austin Square. I only saw the demonstrations again with fighting with the police and things. And this is what Al Jazeera was putting on television. And I never saw my son, never saw my mother, never saw Sapir, except from the videos of them being released. Never saw my friends. In my mind, I was forgotten.
So how did you, the thought of being forgotten, 498 days, how do you withstand that? What gave you the strength to withstand that?
So it was a thing that evolved. At the beginning, it was the fact that they got out. And then when things continued and being isolated, I developed a sense of belief and faith that I have now an opportunity, and every single day in captivity, an opportunity to do something good, to be positive, of praying for their safety, for Sapir's, my mother, my grandmother's, my father, who I didn't know was killed. I wanted to believe he is alive. Health and ability to go back to their lives, and ability to prosper, and for myself to maybe one day experience life again, to come out. And it gave me a lot of strength and resilience to go through and withstand everything that I've been going through there. Another thing is that I'm an only son, an only child actually. And knowing that, in a sense, if I will give up and find myself dead, sometimes it was easier than being alive, but knowing that my mother will be in such a great grief and will not be able to enjoy life, and even worse situations, I thought I cannot do that. I have to withstand and hold as much as I can in order to come back for her. And
You actually mentioned, sorry to cut you off on that, because we're going to have to, unfortunately, come to an end soon. But one of the things that stuck with me was how worried you were about your mother being isolated, your mother not being a very social person, not expressing her feelings very well. What was for her, for Sapir, or for your mother, the support of the hostage families, the support of Ben-Gurion University, the support of our supporters around the world? What was that for your mother, and what did that mean for you when you found out about it?
well, first of all, for them, it meant everything. I think that they wouldn't been able to withstand the weight and the uncertainty of waiting for me without the support of everybody. And for me, it was like, I'm so grateful for that. I know that my mother have been through a tough time. Sapir helped her a lot, but the fact that people all around in Israel, and also a foundation and infrastructures like Ben-Gurion University, and even Amazon, my workplace in Israel, I'm not talking about Amazon in general, supported in a sense, helped, cared. People approached her, my mother and Sapir, told them how much they care about the things that are going, and told them how much they are doing in order to help the other hostages get out, including me, gave them hope, gave them strength, and gave them the feeling they are not alone in this battle, and people actually care. And it's so important to keep it going, because sometimes we may forget after the war is over, that that's it. We have a new phase. We can change our attitude toward what is going on in Israel, but it's actually the opposite. Maybe the war is seemingly over, but it doesn't mean that people don't need support. We need much more support after the war than even during the war. And there are so many people who got affected by that. The soldiers, the hostages, the families of the soldiers, the family of the hostages, institutes that was harmed, was partially being armed because of the war itself, has happened to the university as well. And I think that as long as this support will go on and the connection between the communities will stay strong, we will prevail. And it's so important for me that it will keep going this way.
I think for so many of us, it's unbelievable listening to you. And I think it's so important for all of us. And when we talk to people, I know that each one of us at some point questioned how important it is that I'm wearing, okay, I'm not going to, I'm another person in the demonstration. What importance is that? I'm another person wearing a pin. What important is that? And with the fact that each and every one of us was involved, had this impact, listening to Sasha makes us realize that we cannot give up and that each of us has a role in what we do, even if it feels like we're insignificant. So Sasha, let's end very quickly on plans. I mean, you know, all the living hostages are back. We're moving on to a new phase. Oh, really? She just gave me more time. She never does that. Yay. Wow. Okay, wait. From talking to many hostages, I know that moving on in life was an impossibility as long as other living hostages were still in Israel, in Gaza. Especially from near Oz, where the community just had, I think, 8 more living hostages finally returned, but there are still some bodies left to be returned. Are you reaching a point you think that you will be able to take the next step and go back to work at Amazon or something else?
Well, I think that first of all, because Neely was here, it's important to state that her father was returned, I think, a couple or 3 days ago. So, and Churchill, yeah. Everybody know him by this name, although it's not his name. But unfortunately, we do have still deceased hostages being held in Gaza. So we wishing and hoping to see them home soon. The other thing is that right now, I'm so happy with the fact that the deal was signed. We got back Ariel, David, Eitan, Orn, and all of them are a very, very important part of our community. And Ariel is especially a good friend of mine, so I'm so
Ariel
happy.
Cunio.
Ariel Cunio, yeah. And his brother David were held in separate organizations as well. And that him being home gave me so much relief and ability and comfort to go on with my life and think about the future. So if you would have asked me this question even 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't be able to answer it. I will say something that will sound so vague, but right now I'm actually planning on finding my route through life, thinking maybe about academics. Let's see, maybe I will do a second degree.
You have a scholarship waiting for you.
Okay. I am still, it's not a long time since I started thinking actually about what I'm gonna do in the future. I believe that I will find my way. Right now, I'm focusing about trying to share my story, my feelings and understandings of what I've been through, and to ask people not make this phase of 2 years just be part of history, learn from that, and we need to take the positive things that happened during this time and continue with them in the future. Because I didn't choose October 7, I didn't choose to be an hostage, and I didn't choose to lose my father, and I didn't choose the suffering that my family and everybody who was involved have been through. But I am choosing what I'm gonna do next. I am choosing what I'm gonna take from that experience, and I am choosing what I'm learning from that. And I encourage you as well to do that and to make something good out of this horrible, horrific event that happened to us on October 7. So for me, this is a very big part of looking at the future, seeing myself, and more specifically, I will figure it out along the way.
So God willing, next March, I've heard there's a wedding. 20 years from now, 10 years from now, you're a young couple that's still young. I know it seems really old for you. Can you even imagine what you would tell your children about what the two of you went through?
I hope that I wouldn't be needing to tell them anything. I hope that from what I've learned and what I've developed during this time, and Sapir We will just serve an example of good things for our kids, and they will not need to hear the horrible and horrific events in order to learn the actual benefits and good things that we acquired after this experience. So they will have the benefit and not without the need to hear those things.
Sasha, I think we'll leave it at that. I think you've epitomized with, did you choose Ben-Gurion or did Ben-Gurion choose you? The values that you're talking about complexity and holding the good and the bad, but choosing to go forward with the good, the commitment to academia, the commitment to the state of Israel, the huge commitment to the future of the state of Israel that we need to change and to learn and to move forward is just an example for all of us, and we couldn't be prouder. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.